working because he went 2-0 this week. So, yeah, what do I know, I guess?
Well, I know that the next series is going to look somewhat similar. We have Saiyan versus Eddie. Now, taking a look at Eddie's lineup, or rather Saiyan's lineup first here. He is playing that Tempo Demon Hunter, but it's different in the sense that we have Highlander Rogue now being played here versus the Secret Rogue, Secret Galacon Rogue from Eddie. And the second thing is that Saiyan's playing Galacron Warlock instead of Zoo. So it's similar classes, but the archetypes, they are varying from player to player. And Galacron Warlock, again, has not been performing too well. I saw, again, more matches over in Europe, and I still wasn't super impressed by it. However, Saiyan did end up narrowly losing the first time he showed up this weekend just by a hair, and it always feels like, is it because the Warlock got a little bit unfortunate, or perhaps it's the deck itself? Always hard to see. But one thing's for sure, neither player are going to allow Warrior through. And I think last time we were talking about how there were players that were going to leave Warrior open. Looks like Saiyan, instead of banning another class, this time he is going to ban Warrior.
Yeah, I think players' perception of the Warrior deck has changed a little bit, and it feels like it's essentially coming down to one card. In the past, you could play decks like Priest or Galacron Warlock, or decks that can have a lot of early game removal and outvalue, and you'd feel confident against the Warrior. But with Grom Hellscreen and the reach that provides, the consistent reach, right? A 2-card thing, not a 3-card combo like Korokon Elite Inner Rage plus Bloodsworn Mercenary. It makes it so that once you stabilize, you're still at the threat of dying. And so I think that, players coming this weekend that were like, I'm not going to ban Warrior because I feel like my strategy can beat Warrior pretty consistently. But over all of the regions, any player that hasn't banned Warrior, it seems like even the decks that are supposed to beat it are falling to it because of the inclusion of Grom Hellscream and the additional reach that is provided to them because of it. So maybe Saiyan's realizing that. It's kind of like the Grom in the deck really didn't show up until this week. So if they were prepping with that in mind, with Grom not being there, and they thought that they were favored in the matchup and that one card made things different, they have to adjust on the fly. And maybe that's what Saiyan did here with Warrior is just really strong against pretty much everything. So I don't want to play against that.
Well, here we go. We're going to see what ends up happening in the Demon Hunter mirror. Whose techs will reign supreme? We did break down some of the differences, but at the core, we do see Pieces of Fury not represented on either side. Saiyan has a little bit more specifically tech for the Demon Hunter mirror, it seems, with 2 Frozen Shadow Weavers, and keeping the deck a lot more lean. Versus Eddie has several one-ofs, but that's kind of the Eddie special. He loves kind of splashing in 1 or 2 different cards. But it doesn't seem anything out of the ordinary this time.
And Saiyan playing the same Demon Hunter list that we saw in the last series from Monsanto, with the double Frozen Shadow Weaver, no Raging Fell Screamer, no Priestess, additional 1-drops, but no I-Beam. Whereas Eddie's kind of playing the same type of list with the additional 1-drops and 1 Frozen Shadow Weaver, but did include the I-Beams. And honestly, not having the I-Beams has proven to be quite a rough show of things in the mirror matchup. Like I said earlier, we saw Hunter struggle with it. Monsanto struggled with it in the last series. Just having that one tool to not only pad your life total, but also for significant early tempo swings seems huge. And obviously, they play a lot of games, and this deck has insane blowout potential, even without the I-Beams. If you're fighting sort of these card-for-card tempo matchups, the I-Beam is just that one additional resource that can help you fight back on board.
Yes, so
I grow impatient.
I'm looking at Saiyan's hand, and I'm kind of hard pressed to find a better play right now than the Umbra Wing. But
Well, Battlefield Hero Power also seems quite good. Just because next turn you have options. If your opponent plays a 2 health thing, you can Umberwing Hero Power. If your opponent plays a 1 health thing, you can Setless Watcher Hero Power.
Okay, I'm sold. Yeah, and you know what? This puts comparable power anyways onto the board because you're putting it in 2/2. So
yeah,
I like it. And you know when you frame it like how you want to respond to your opponent's best plays, I think that's where in the end I'm sold, because if you look at what Eddie can do for up to 3 mana when he has cards like Frenzy Foe in, he might need to get that extra attack in with the Umberwing weapon plus his hero power, so that does make sense. Also, the Battlefiend will grow in power, so if your opponent plays a 3 health minion, unless it's like specifically Frozen Shadow Weaver onto the opponent's hero, the Battlefiend should be able to respond.
That's like the most potential power.
Yes. Not to mention that if it goes unanswered, it might just run away with the game.
Yep.
So I like that. I like that. And it makes sense too because you know, these snowball cards, Brazen Zealot, Battlefiend, Mana Worm, from back in the day, you just want to get it out earlier because that's when they have the highest impact. Well, the Metamorphosis isn't exactly the draw that I think Sane was looking for here. And it seems like developing proactively onto the board is really important. Saiyan does have a turn 4 play through Kane's Sun Fury. I think Sightless Watcher trying to map out what he wants to draw out next is less important when you have one of the ideal plays for turn 4. But there are better cards than Kane. You know, when you have the ability to plan out really efficient turns, there's opportunities for you to get cheap cards from the Demon Hunter to squeeze out even more efficient play. Kane is one of the best turn 4 plays.
Time grows short.
Yeah, it's actually in most lineups or most lists, it is the only turn 4 play or 4 mana play, right, that you can make. They only usually run 2 4-mana cards with Altruist and Kane. The other strong turn 4 play is the classic Satyr Overseer hero power.
Yeah. This makes sense to me. Plus, it keeps the weapon swing available for the following turn. All really important, relevant stuff. And as we have seen several times just through even today, when you watch some of the other Demon Hunter mirrors in the different regions,
Demons?
the slightest difference in the board setup could have major implications on how the rest of the game pans out. It might look, you know, very straightforward, but not having a single 1/1 or a single point of damage can oftentimes snowball things. So players are taking their time. Eddie picks up the Umberwing himself, which is also a very good pickup considering that he would be ahead on board ever so slightly. Benefit too is that it's kind of what you were talking about, TJ. You get the hero power as well.
Time grows short.
Yeah. I was thinking if he did want to attack first and make the trade in. This is like a flexibility play. Since he doesn't have another weapon in his hand, and he knows that he'll probably want to attack next turn, and he's likely going to draw as well with either Spectral Sight or Chaos Strike. By attacking second, but like taking a little bit more damage on his Crimson Sigil Runner, he opens up the ability to attack next turn with his Umberwing, and then also attack if he were to pick up a Glaive-bound Adept on 5. So even though he takes more damage on his minions now and may give up a slight amount of tempo because of it, it does allow him more powerful options for turn 5 if he were to pick up the Glaive-bound Adept.
I like the preparation specifically for the last point that you said. The play seems a lot more oriented around what's going to happen 2 turns from now. Yeah, we know that he most likely will utilize cards like Chaos Strike in the hand. But what if he picks up Gladebound Adept and he doesn't have Twin Slice and he needs to fight for tempo immediately? So I like the map out for the future turns.
I grow impatient.
Almost makes me wish that he would draw a Gladebound Adept the next turn, so that way it could just be rewarded. Definitely not an ideal spot though for Eddie. He was hoping that he could use his attack damage to get a free Frenzied Fellwing. But this Cane does take precedence in the priorities for things to do. You have to kill this Cane off. Or if you do leave it up, you have to make sure you're prepared for the repercussions of leaving it alive.
Time grows short.
Saiyan seems perplexed by the Chaos Strike.
Yeah, Chaos Strike seems to be a card that is pretty solid when you're ahead, but when you're behind, it feels really awful to play sometimes.
Yeah.
Because when you're ahead, what you get to do is keep your card draw resource up while leveraging your health to kill off minions.
Yeah.
So that's great. When you're behind, you feel like you're just wasting your mana crystals because you don't need resources. You need to find a way to get back on board quickly. Ooh.
Warglaves is just the strongest pick in a nutshell, but Beaming Sidekick gives him the most powerful play next turn. If you consider attack Gladebound Adept, buff the Gladebound Adept's health. But it just feels like the Warglaves, especially given his hand right now, he wants to end the game quickly. So alright, Gladebound Adept. He drew it, Dan. Rewarded! He drew it on 5! It's crazy because almost every player uses the Umber Wing and saves the health on their Crimson Sigil Runner on the turn prior because they're fighting for tempo. So it's really cool to see a little bit of a deviation from that, giving up your Crimson Sigil Runner on board to the 1/1, but making sure that you have a guaranteed play on 5. Now, it still may not matter, but just the fact that that Gladebound Adept was playable on 5, I'm happy. I'm happy with this game regardless of the outcome, just because of that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if it ends up paying off here, but Eddie's just really far back from the amount of damage and tempo Saiyan's going to be putting out here. Like, this is kind of what we're talking about, the position of dominance that Tempo Demon Hunter can do, which is you can stall their threats, but they're just going to keep pushing out a little bit extra damage, and this Wargaze with Azzinoth is sick for doing exactly that. All right, Skull of Gul'dan. Does that change anything here, TJ?
Nah, it's a huge bait.
Well, the thing is, he can still Skull after all of it. Like, let's say he plays Wargaze of Azzinoth and Metamorphosis, and he still hasn't found a way to kill, which I would already find kind of ridiculous in itself. He still could use Skull of Gul'dan after all of that and be cooking. I think Saiyan's just pretty much weighing the decision point between Warglaze versus Metamorphosis, and I don't think it's that close. I think you really want to make sure this board doesn't get out of control, and by doing this, you shut off the possibility of your opponent racing.
Yep, and Metamorphosis looks like it's going to be a pretty efficient closer for this game. Second Frenzied Fellwing. I mean, what other option do you have?
Not much.
Nope. Just play them both. That'll do it.
Yeah, in this matchup, like you said, you know, these Frenzied Fellwings are supposed to help the mirror matchup, and yet they are always a little bit too late. Like clockwork. And the non-Frenzied Fellwing deck list, once more, prevails. Is it an outlier? Potentially. But, I mean, at the same time, we kind of start to identify trends. Well, the Frenzied Fellwing is not winning the Demon Hunter mirrors today, TJ.
Well, it's kind of also a little bit backwards also because Saiyan is playing um, the no I-beam list. So the no I-beam list has actually been losing the mirror more often than the no frenzied fellwing list has been losing the mirror. So it's kind of weird. It's just a weird dynamic. The matchup
It is.
the matchup rarely comes down to, at least at what it feels, it rarely comes down to these tech decisions that you make in the deck, and mostly comes down to who can get early tempo, which everybody uses the same cards essentially to get the early tempo. Um, but some players play beaming sidekick, some players play I-beam, some players play both, and it's just a matter of one, preference, and two, what works best for you in testing. And sometimes both of those things can not lie to you, but can seem different in actual matches as opposed to what it felt like in testing, because we're just seeing a one game sample size, whereas they're seeing a 30, 50, 100 sample size when they're testing. So it's really hard to say which one is actually favorite when everything comes down to it, honestly.
Sure. I'm just pointing out the facts of what's happened, TJ. You can draw the conclusion. As can you, as we take another break here and get ready for game number 2 between Saiyan and Eddie. So stay tuned. You're watching Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas, brought to you by T-Mobile.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.
If I would have to describe myself in 3 words, that would be...
I can be really...
If I had to describe myself in 3 words, that would be cringy, persistent, and thoughtful.
Try hard, shy, and patient.
Try hard, patient, and motivate.
I would say I'm very joyful, happy, awkward.
I am overambitious. I can be really angry at some point, sometimes, and I'm a clown.
Kind, competitive, and calm.
Calm, smart, and sleepy.
Methodical, thoughtful, and British.
3 words? So I will describe myself as an Hearthstone player.
back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas. We're currently in the middle of our second match today out of 5. We have Just Saiyan, who currently 1-0 up over his opponent, Eddie. And now Eddie is probably going to, feel a little sad about that matchup, but it's okay. We still have 2 more games that, we can play here before Eddie's series is over. But the thing that I'm going to be focused on mostly is Galakrond Warlock. Saiyan does have Highlander Rogue, so we could also queue that up. But Galakrond Warlock is one of the biggest question marks here for me this weekend. Even though we still have, other decks that might be more of that X factor, like Highlander Mage, which has seen a lot of play in other regions. I'm curious to see what ends up happening for game number 2.
Yeah, Saiyan gonna be playing the Highlander. Yeah, Saiyan gonna be playing the Highlander Rogue. And we've seen this have quite a bit of success, especially in mirror matchups. So be curious to see if we're going to continue, if that trend will continue today. Well, I don't want to say standard list because it's a standard list for the past couple weeks. The Waste Warden might be a little bit overkill coming into this week because there really just aren't that many druids. There's only one from Language Hacker. And against other decks, it can be pretty inconsistent. But at the end of the day, a 5-mana deal 3 battle cry is not the worst thing in the world. Especially when you're oftentimes fighting aggressively for tempo against some matchups. But I'm definitely curious to see if we're going to see the same level of success from Highlander Rogue that we've seen over the past 2 days. It's impressed me a lot.
Now.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. And so it looks like we're going to get ready for game number 2, Rogue versus the Demon Hunter. Rogue's been doing great today so far in the Americas. Heading into today, as per Lorinda, one of our stats guys, or perhaps the stat guy, depending on who you're asking. Rogue's been underperforming. Its win rate is 35% heading into today. And the highest performing archetype is Highlander Rogue, but it's still only in the 40s in terms of its win rate. And that's really unacceptable, so to speak, for a conquest lineup where you only can bring 4 classes. 35% means that this is the class to examine whether or not it should be broader. But perhaps it could just be a victim of, good predictions or perhaps people preparing lineups to beat it. But definitely a lot of questions heading into next week for some of these players. At the same time, if it's getting wins for you, like it has been today so far, can't really go wrong there. Look at this opening, by the way, for Eddie. This is turn 2.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. This is the goods, Dan. This is the goods.
Yes.
However, Saiyan does have Backstab Coin Edwin.
Right.
But is that enough?
Potentially?
He's not going to do it. He's going to just make sure that he hasn't killed all these minions over the 2 turns.
Right.
Dagger this turn, next turn he daggers, Seal Fate's the highest power minion on the board.
Wow.
And then tries to roll from there, maybe into like a Shadow Jeweler Hanar play to follow things up. Because I don't think a 6/6 that would have just had to keep trading onto the board probably wasn't enough to get there, because you never race with just a 6/6.
I grow impatient.
And Eddie going to continue the trend of just kind of building up a board. Now, this does mean that if he picks up an expensive card next turn, that Spectral Sight gets stranded. So there is a possibility that maybe things can fizzle out, and a Bone Knight draw is
pretty good.
Pretty decent, yeah.
Oh. Or is it hidden option number 3? Shadow Jewel Hanar with the secret. And then, really confusing your opponent. Maybe being able to pull out a secret that is huge, like Explosive Trap, Ice Barrier, Flame Ward. Possibilities truly are endless.
Oh, Explosive Trap. There it is.
Yes, that is massive.
But can he stabilize from this life total?
Right, that's the question. Is this too little too late? Like, is this too much damage being put out by the Demon Hunter? And that Twin Slice is just more damage being put out. Like, Eddie doesn't have to acknowledge this Hanar if he doesn't want to. And if you think about what's actually happening here, this is still only 4 mana. So even if Hanar gets to play 4 1-mana secrets, which is not likely to be the case, you still might be able to just kill your opponent because he just doesn't have enough mana to do things. He finds another Frenzied Foeing, which is still more development. Oh, he's going to attack into it. Bamboozle's been revealed, and Oasis Surger.
He still gets to play the Felwing because he's dealing 4.
Yeah. However, how sick is Explosive Trap right here? Explosive Trap and the Acidic Swamp Ooze!
Oh.
After both Twin Slices have been used. What a draw.
Acidic Swamp Ooze doesn't play around Warglaves of Azzinoth. And I think he's worried about Warglaves. Oh, he had both!
You're right. Eddie here's like, oh my god, he got the Explosive Trap. And here's the thing, you gotta eventually do that. You're not gonna win without Metamorphosis in hand. You're not gonna win just from damage from the hand. You gotta attack the face here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Squeezing out as efficient damage as he can.
We're with you.
Yeah, if you play Bone Wraith here, you're asking to get hurt real bad. So Saiyan start things off with the Seal Fate, finds a Goblin Lackey, which is not what he needed.
No, I mean, he may be in a position where he needs to Goblin Lackey praise Galakrond just to try and get cards out of his hand and put something in the way.
Precisely.
But this seems like at any point Eddie could draw Metamorphosis and the game just ends.
Right.
There's no healing in the deck outside of just Galakrond, essentially, which is just the slight amount of armor gain. I mean, there's some crazy things that can happen with, like, Zephyrus or Dragon Sword, but it's hard to imagine a situation where reliably gain life.
And Saiyan now down to 5 life. Siamat not going to be it. His best play is to Kobold Lackey and play Bone Wraith. And that will do it. Warglaves Azzinoth will clean everything up. Demon Hunter can't be stopped. 2 games, 2 Demon Hunter wins. And you can kind of see the justification for people who ban Demon Hunter instead of banning Warrior or Zoo Warlock. The aggression is just kind of really hard to stop. And Rogue is a class that does have the tools. We've seen it earlier, but you know, perhaps just a little bit too quick. Frenzy Felwing ended up being much stronger against Rogue despite Rogue having answers. Just didn't have enough health.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a very fast start. 1 drop into 1 drop coin, 1 drop into Frenzied Felwing on the exact same turn because he had Twin Slice as well. That's why the Felwings are in the deck, because you get to capitalize on those types of starts. And even with like coin, backstab, Edwin in opening hand, which a lot of times can completely swing a game against Demon Hunter, because then you initiate a race and force Demon Hunter to start trading into your Edwin. It didn't matter because Saint couldn't even afford to do that play because the board was too wide. You had to start picking apart things, and like you said, had the tools, just didn't have the life to work with to get to those tools.
Yep, so now it comes down to the differences in their lineups. The 2 Tempo Demon Hunters, they got the win. The Rogues, though, the Rogues and the Warlocks, can they go up against the other classes? Like, is the Highlander Rogue, you know, of course, we've seen it beat the normal Galakrond Warlocks, but, you know, how does it fare against Zoo Warlock? And then, of course, the other way around. How does Galakrond Rogue fare against the Galakrond Warlock these days? And we have stats available showing that it could lean one way or the other, but, you know, we haven't seen much happen in Grandmasters. And now more than ever, a lot of the players who are playing Grandmasters say they rely less and less on the publicly available data, largely because they want to use their own sample sizes and their own experiences to help guide them a little bit more. Of course, some of the data out there is helpful to give you pointers. But yeah, I've been hearing the players be less and less devoted to preaching the gospel known as the publicly available data.
Because everybody be playing Murloc Paladin.
Yes, everyone would be playing Murloc Paladin. Although Murloc Paladin has actually fallen a little bit in the meta tier lists, but it's still there. It's still there as tier 1. Yeah, bronze through diamond. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Crazy. I think
funny
it was
enough
even there in
too.
one region in Legend the other day.
Well, funny enough too, like as much as we can kind of like joke about ranks, right? Like people playing in bronze through gold. If you go through diamond through legend, Murloc Paladin's still one of the top decks, surprisingly. So it's pretty interesting to see that that's still the case.
Yeah.
Coin scrap imp.
Yep.
I can't move.
And Saiyan has something to do. There you go.
That was big. That was a big pickup for Saiyan.
Yeah. Oh, the double Wolf Rider buff. He's already got 14 damage in hand.
Wow. Saiyan with another playable card on 3. Yeah, he's got 14 damage from hand. I mean, that's kind of like the old Force Nature Savage Roar combination, if you can remember from years back.
Yeah.
We're back online.
Just this play alone, like just this board alone, coin scrap imp in 2.
Right.
On turn 3, you play a 3/3 with Divine Shield and a 3/5. Cool. How do you deal with that? I mean, he could pick apart this with the Devoted Maniac, but honestly, you might have to just play the Escape Mana Saber and rely on a little bit more just raw power and options for the next couple turns to fight back, because this is going to get scary real quick.
Well, funnily enough, there's tribes being shared on the board with demons. So if Saiyan preemptively trades into the Voidwalker, Waste Warden will kill off the Scrap Imp and the Voidwalker next turn.
Yeah, that's true.
You would float a Mana Crystal, which is probably the worst part about it.
Yeah.
Also, there is merit to like not attacking to make your opponent think about Bamboozle, but I think Saiyan should just better, or even just preserving HP, but it's best to maybe preemptively trade here given his hand.
Yeah. Time for Wolf Rider, hit the board.
Wolf Rider is no tribe. It obeys
14 damage.
No laws.
Hey,
it knows no fear. That's a lot of damage.
Yep.
The extra mana crystal is like 2 hard stop, and Saiyan his best play really is not really that great of a play. Like, he can remove 2 minions on board, but there's still going to be 9 showing, and he'd be dead. If he plays Bone Wraith,
he's still dead.
That is correct. Scrap Imp just kind of snowballing it, and you can finally see what the Wolf Riders are trying to do, which is if you give it a little bit of extra room to breathe and you get the Scrap Imp without much punishment, you can absolutely run over your opponents. And seeing it like this makes me think the Wolf Riders, that seems to be reasonable. The Stone Tusk Boar,
I mean,
the Bluegill Warrior, I think you'll lose me a little bit there.
Yeah. Honestly, though, with this hand, regardless of what cards those are, he wins this game. Because he would be able to play both those cards in the same turn and still have as much power on the board, even if the immediate damage wasn't there. But yeah, the Wolf Rider by itself. I said in the early broadcast that was the version I liked the least.
Oh, just the
Wolf Riders.
just the Wolf Riders?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just because games like that don't happen very often. Where you have both in hand and still have coin scrap imp 2/1 drops into Wolf Riders. Those ones don't happen very often, especially with the way the mulligan goes, right? Because you're not keeping Wolf Riders, and you're usually not keeping 1-drops. You're mulliganing for scrap imp plus discard, and so it just so happened that what he hit with coin scrap imp was good, but I still think that Wolf Riders definitely showed some power there. That's for sure. But that kind of start with Sand Star on the other side, put in any card in that situation. Literally any 3 mana or less card besides Doomsayer, and you probably have a very similar result.
Yeah, well, we come down to game 4, and Eddie is going to be playing that rogue. Saying he's going to turn to Galakron Warlock. Try and fight against that rogue. Galakron Warlock does have some pretty strong tools to clear off rogues' waves of threats. Plague of Death, Plague of Flames, rather. Really effective way, no matter how big your Edwin is, just to take it down. And he's one of the few believers in this deck.
I think if Eddie wins this series, we have no player that is 1-1. Everybody's either 2-0 or 0-2. Or 1-0 or 0 or 1-0 or 0-1. Oh! Feral Cat into 2-drop. The dream.
Yeah, the Shotbot. Shotbot is so good. His hand just kind of shaking his head. He's like, ah. Yeah, the good news, saying you finally drew Zephyrus. Oh, wait. It's a 2-up deck.
Yeah. Both of his Highlander cards in his opening hand in a non-Highlander deck. Warlock has the luxury to play these cards since they draw through their deck so fast with the life tap plus Veiled Worshipper. But I mean, in this situation, really not much option but to
so many options.
Go for the Zephyrus. And is the option for Eddie to play Shadow Jeweler Hanar here? There'd be 3/8 health on board, so it actually would be safe from a Dark Skies. Okay. Because that's what would be worrying him, right? Dark Skies. Now, it wouldn't be safe to Dark Skies coin Mortal Coil, but that's a 2-card combo that would specifically deal with it, and maybe that's what he's thinking about. There's also like Nether Breath Mortal Coil, but from my perspective, it seems really safe, and the upside of it sticking on the board means you get to play 2 secrets next turn instead of just daggering up this turn and then playing Shadow Jeweler Hanar 1 secret next turn. So I think that it would take a 2-card combo and a lot of resources from Saiyan just to answer the Hanar. Also, the third one would have been the Dragonblight Cultist plus Plague of Flames. So, 2-card combos would have been the only answers.
Yeah, I mean, just get the secret train just started here for Eddie, just capitalizing on the Warlock's passivity. Warlock's going to take a while to get set up, and this is exactly what Rogue wants to do. Although, what would you take off of these? Counterspell is probably the best, just power level wise.
But his plays are just so mapped out.
Right.
Yeah, Shield of Galakron 5 into Shield of Galakron Lackey on 6 into Lackey Heistmer and Togwaggle on 7. So I'm probably just putting another secret in play.
Sounds good to me.
How about a Dirty Tricks to reload once you've spent all this stuff? He won't even need reload. He's going to Heistmer and Togwaggle on 7.
You put it like that, it doesn't feel like there's too much of an incentive to try and set up disruption plays. Go for what you feel like is the best tempo here, but Saiyan just gonna go ahead and remove the Shadow Jeweler Hanar. Just says, you know what? Too much value.
Yeah.
an easy way for you to kind of get blown out. It's a very slow approach, losing to Hanar, but it's frustrating. Feels like one of those tangled webs through an obstacle course that you feel like it should be a lot easier to get through, but the deeper you get into it, leg gets caught, hand gets stuck. Saying has no indication on what this hunter secret is outside of no snipe. Secret is outside of no snipe.
This is actually a weird turn. Like the plan was Shield of Galakron into High Spear and Togwaggle. But if you do that, you don't really deal with Saiyan's board going to the High Spear and Togwaggle turn. Okay, well, that does. If you'd picked up Goblin Lackey also, that would have been pretty clean, because he could have rushed the fresh Shield of Galakron and then still have an attacking 5.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe he's not even worried about killing the Shield of Galakron because he's got a pressure plate up.
The pressure plate is like low-key, really annoying and good for Eddie.
Yeah, you Kobo Lucky 1-1. Yeah, this is smart.
Yeah. Eddie is really good. He's really good at these corner case scenarios. Gallon was praising Eddie the other week when I was hanging out with him, saying that he thinks Eddie is actually the best player in America.
Yeah, like it doesn't really give too much away that it's pressure plate, because it's oftentimes a secret that you don't think about too much. But like this exact scenario, like what would Saiyan want to do? He'd want to trade in a 1/1 in Nether Breath to get an efficient, clean trade. But then his Shield of Galakron would die. Or he'd want to like Shield of Galakron Mortal Coil, and then maybe his 1/1 dies and he doesn't get to trade over something. Like,
right?
It's weird. Like the Kobold locking onto the Shield of Galakron really doesn't do much if that's the case.
Right.
And he also has to. So he knows it's not Freezing Trap. He knows it's not Snake, and so now he does know it's pressure plate. But this did maybe change how Saiyan played this turn.
Right. There was a remote possibility to be Pack Tactics.
Pack Tactics.
Tactics. Evasive Worm is very clean for the turn, but he has a lot of other plays available to him anyway. So Eddie could avoid picking the Evasive Worm just because it looks good. He can pick Twin Tyrant, which is also reasonable to play just on 8, given that your opponent's been developing a lot. Also happens to be really good into a couple of minions like Veiled Worshipper. Picks the Onyxia for just raw top end.
Yeah, Onyxia also weirdly like protects him against Plague of Flames.
Yeah, it requires Plague of Fire to happen first.
Yeah, the Rain of Fire. Yeah, and so the other ones are big, bulky dragons that are expensive and are very vulnerable to Plague of Flames, whereas the Onyxia is a big, bulky dragon that's not. So he already has plays elsewhere, so he might as well just take that one.
Makes sense to me.
I wonder.
Well.
Yeah, the debate here is if he wants to simply play Dragonblight Cultist, I think, to, again, maximize his board presence, or if he tries to play some of his other reactive cards instead. It does have the ability to go for this Galakron Invocation once more and build up a bigger board. So this is for the worst possible 1-1 outcomes, because Eddie shouldn't be able to deal with all of these things, so he can set up a very wide clear with a Plague of Flames. I like it. Otherwise, the 1/1, if he traded in, he would have had a weaker board, and also Dragonblight Cultist gets contested by a single
Yeah.
Eddie with some really bad treasure draws. That's one of the worst I've that's one of the worst I've seen in a while.
Yeah, only 4 mana worth of discount.
Yeah.
I want a refund.
Well, especially because it costs 3. Costs 3 to play the wand.
Yeah, and it made him play a 6 mana 5/5. There's a big cost. Now, granted, you draw the card, so the card draw itself has some inherent value, but that wand in itself was a bamboozle.
Yeah, can't play Bamboozle either, because it would make your Edwin too weak. And so Saiyan was prepared for this possibility. However, can he go greedy here? He can freeze this Edwin, for example, and hang tight, and that actually lets him to do other things. You know, for example, he could instead draw cards this turn, set up for a defensive play when his opponent plays another board. Because if he uses Plague of Flames here to kill the Edwin, Eddie has like almost a full hand, which you might be afraid he's going to reload. Okay, so the Mortal Coil on his own minion heavily implies that he does want to go for a Plague of Flames tempo opportunity.
Yeah.
Almost out of time.
And then is the follow-up Frozen Shadow Weaver Dragon Bite Cultist?
I guess so. Just maximizing his board presence. And you know what? This makes sense also because Saiyan has Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and Alexstrasza, so if he's able to set up, like, if he sets up a board before Alexstrasza, he could offensively Alexstrasza hit for 10.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that this board survives the way it is, though.
He's still a couple cards away from it being active also. He has not drawn a Morag Artificer or a Dark Skies.
Right.
So he needs both of those pickups in order for Dragon Queen Alexstrasza to be active. But he also has 2 draws next turn for just his own Galakron, which is fully invoked, which also could be a pretty big board swing. So he's got some big draws over the next couple turns that could help him swing.
Right.
And
Eddie finds... I mean, Eddie's going to clear off a lot of this. He's got Backstab, got Faces Corruptor. This Alexstrasza push is kind of pie in the sky dreams here for Saiyan. It's just that if Eddie just happened to have a proactive turn and not a reactive one, Saiyan would have been in a really good spot. Because Dragon, don't forget that he creates Nether Wing also just deals 3 damage to everything. Yeah.
Crazed Netherwind could be a nice clear here. So this looks like a Bamboozle setup, especially since it was 0 cost and he played it the turn after his massive Edwin died. And even if this gets upgraded to a 6-drop, you're very likely to kill it. Yep.
That's right.
Now it's just nice and clean. Can
Yeah,
even tap.
It's too clean. Because it's too clean, it feels like there's only one thing you can do here, and it has to be the Nether Wing. We're also removing 16 power on board, or 14 power on board, rather. I'm tempted to play this Acidic Swamp Ooze solely because it presents the same kind of threat to Eddie, where it's like there's 8 power, and if I don't answer this, Warlock might be able to start leveraging their board as opposed to reacting.
But as soon as you play it, the fully invoked Galakron hit comes down and you get some extra 10.
True. Yeah, it's true. I guess he doesn't exactly have the game-ending push either, right? He doesn't have his own Galakron so that his Kronx is activated. Yeah, I see it. Just the bias of being able to see both hands, TJ.
Yeah. I mean, there's still not a great answer to just straight up Onyxia.
So many options.
Zane would need some help off the top. And he knows that there hasn't been any of the Rain of Fires played yet. Saiyan plays 2 of them. He also hasn't seen Morag Artificer. There's one Nether Breath that he hasn't seen. He knows that there's a dragon in hand, so he's like, if I spend my whole turn playing Onyxia, there's a chance that Saiyan just Rain of Fire, Morag Artificer, Nether Breaths, heals to full, essentially. Alright, well, he could just go Onyxia 2 turns in a row. Actually, it seems like a better choice.
Don't let the door hit you.
Yeah, just because it's an efficient tempo tool to use the Blackjack Stunner and develop here. Arg. Artificer. So one more card until Dragon Queen is active.
Dark Skies. I think it's either Kronks or Netherwing here. Just replay the Grace Netherwing.
So many possibilities.
His life total is getting low, but he has things to be able to help that. Still got Galakron in his deck. He's got his own Alexstrasza if he wants to use that defensively. Still got a Nether Breath in the deck. Gonna see if Galakron's the next card first. And then play the Kronks.
Seems reasonable to me. Doesn't seem like Rogue should be able to end it from here.
He could really use a Galakron of his own.
So many options.
He doesn't really want to flick the Kronks either, because that gets rid of his own Kronks. So maybe this has a Seal Fate target on its back. Seal Fate Waxadread, maybe, is the play this turn. Secret up is Dirty Tricks. He does have some card draw available to him once Saiyan plays a spell, which is very likely over the next couple turns. Still a tough turn, though.
Yeah.
Seeing his board presence slip away.
It's tricky, but I think you can just kind of develop into it. Ethereal Lackey, start things off in case it changes any of his plays. Ooh, really? He kills his own Kronks? He missed the damage too. That's unfortunate.
I honestly really liked Waxadread there instead. Because it's protected behind the Cartoot Defender, and you're looking for a good damage push. He just got rid of a pretty massive tool from his deck, which is Kronks, which could help him find Galakron if he draws that first. And even after Galakron, or drawn from Galakron, can be a good source of game-ending damage. That's a big deal. And there's the Dark Skies.
Yeah, I wonder if that damage will be relevant at all. I mean, he did find a little bit of damage. He found a lot of damage, actually. Deadly Poison is 1 mana and has to give you 4 damage. He summons all of Demon Hunter's best cards. What the heck? He got a Breezes of Fury. He needs to attack into this.
He did get a Fiendish Servant and a Battle Fiend, but I will take this. This is good.
Yeah.
This is real good. That's 6 more damage to face.
Yeah,
Plus the attack from the claw.
Oh, wow.
This game turned on its head real quick.
It did. I mean, we talked about the explosiveness of Galakron Warlock sometimes just having a really powerful summon, and Saiyan takes game 4. A very tiny slip up here from Eddie, but had pretty significant impact. If he had the ability to use Flick still there, it would have been able to clear off a pretty good portion of the board. Waxydread would have bitten the dust instead. Not to mention Waxydread is more resilient to things like Dark Skies.
And there could have even been an option. Because he can only deal 3 damage to his own Kronks.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
board.
Dark Skies would have...
so Dark Skies would have been very inefficient. Saiyan may not have even been able to play Dark Skies Galakrond. He may have just had to play Galakrond, and maybe his play changes. I think that was... he plays Waxydread in that situation. I think he's likely to even win the game from that spot, even considering Saiyan's outcome from the Galakrond. That's even if he felt safe enough to play it that turn without having Dark Skies as an efficient clear. So I do think that was a big blunder from Eddie, and that game just ended. So going to Game 5, it is Dan, as all series must end in the Rogue Mirror matchup.
Yeah, it should end this way, right? It's only appropriate to do so. Rogue versus Rogue. And at this point, Saiyan, he has the power cards in this matchup. There's a lot of really powerful things that you can do with Galakrond Rogue because you have the repetition of invocating time after time and getting the full 4 card draw. But when you look at like Zephyrus and you look at Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and some of those other cards in between, there's a lot of utility that this deck has that can really mess it up.
But having consistent Feral Cats on 1...
Yeah?
That's
Go
better.
on, TJ.
Well, I mean... Colossus of the Moon, not the best outcome, but Dan, I can see it. I can see it. This matchup usually goes a little bit later. This Highlander Rogue,
Yes.
Maybe Colossus of the Moon is going to win the game, but a little bit awkward here. Just saying, Dirty Tricks against Rogue, period, is pretty good because they want to be playing spells oftentimes for tempo. And especially when the coin is in hand, because you're going to bank those 2 cards at some point. It's just only a matter of time. Unless Eddie wants to make any of his turns weaker for the future by holding on to the coin as long as possible to deny the card draw. It's just a dagger up.
Yeah, very slow startup after that.
Is it cold in the shadows?
Mario Cat here, but the Seal Fate's going to line up really nicely. But I think that's what Saiyan's like hoping for, because then Seal Fate activates his Dirty Tricks.
Yep.
I guess I wouldn't say that he's hoping for it, because he would obviously rather keep a minion on board, but it's definitely an okay consolation prize, especially if his next 2 draws were these. Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and Shadow Step. He'd much rather have something else of substance. And he does. He actually has the Blackjack Stunner into the Evil Miscreant, which is totally reasonable. You do lose out on the effect of getting the Blackjack Stunner for the bounce effect with the secret, but you are a Highlander deck. You don't play duplicate copies of secrets unless you're a madman.
He could Shadow Step it, theoretically. But Shadow Step is such a huge value tool.
Yeah. Shadow Step is like probably the most important card when you're playing a Zephyrus deck sometimes. Is because it gives you 2 Zephyrus in your deck, and that's sometimes too much for your opponent to handle. Because Zephyrus is, as much as it's a great card for game-ending damage and potentially getting big tempo swings, it also is just like a high-value card. Sometimes it can go 1 for 6. Or 1 for 7, rather, if your opponent has a full board.
Insane.
Yeah, and Saiyan, his best right now is to just kind of play the curve. He's got Shield the Galakrond right now. Does kind of die to what's on board plus a dagger swing. But that's kind of what he's stuck with, isn't it? He's gonna go for the Lackey instead. Oh my.
Well,
high risk.
Eviscerate. So what this play does is if he does find a spell, it allows him to bridge the gap until turn 7, right? He goes Shield of Galakron next turn.
Well, he gets the Shadow Step as well.
Huh.
I'm also particularly intrigued why he Shadow Step the Witchy Lackey as opposed to the
Mana Cyclone?
Yeah, but I think it's because he wants to flick next turn and then Witchy Lackey the flick. And also there's a possibility of just Shadow Stepping the Ethereal Lackey just to improve his spells opportunity if he didn't get Mana Cyclone. Mana Cyclone would have been like, it had to have been a snap play, and he only played 2 spells. It's not a huge deal.
I mean, that's more spells than the Ethereal Lackey would give you. And mage spells, I like a lot. I don't know.
That's right, you could have gotten Puzzle Box of Galaxaron.
Ooh! Now we're talking, Dan.
Okay. So that backstab is actually huge, because now Saiyan doesn't have to activate Bamboozle. Although, does he want to Bamboozle so that way he can get it out of the way, because then he can flick it. He can flick it real good.
Yeah.
The flick does end up removing Faces Corruptors in the deck, which is probably the best attribute about it.
I just always hate the leaving up of Bamboozle.
Oh, I know you do. You're very outspoken about it, TJ.
You're gonna have to deal with it. And granted, the matches that we see on broadcast are not like the end-all be-all. It's a small sample size, but every time we've seen a player say, I don't want to deal with Bamboozle right now, I'm going to wait until later, they get punished by it, because eventually they have to attack into a high attack or a high-cost thing, and Bamboozle just wrecks them. It bamboozles them. Now it's still up, and it could have been gone. Maybe I'm bamboozling myself by getting so upset about it.
I don't think that's what bamboozling... I don't think that's how it works, TJ.
So many options.
No, it might be. What's the definition
Maybe the
of
bamboozle is on the casters.
Bamboozle. Verb. Fool or cheat.
I think it's just because there's just too many possibilities that you get burned by activating the bamboozle. It's similar to, you know, how there's like players who never activate that snake trap for Hunter, but then by doing so they leave up Hunter's minions to just go face. Yeah. They think like, oh, you know, well, you're just better off activating ahead of time, so that way you can just answer the minions on board. Or you're just planning to never trade ever again. Back into the poisonous minion reveals a Dragonbite cultist. So
could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse. Siamat does get the trades here. Full clear if he wants it. Could also just kind of take a value trade with the Mind Shield.
Yeah. Witchy Lackey this flick.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Wait, what?
Oh?
What? I'm pretty sure 7s is just like a better slot than 8 right now.
Oh, wait. Didn't Lorinda specifically prepare a sheet for us to look at during times like this? But I'm inclined to agree that the flick was better, just solely based off of the fact that you had a 6/6 versus a 4/1, and the 4/1 has a lot more to gain.
There are so many good 7s. So many good 7s. Priestess of Fury, Marsh Hydra, Evasive Draconid, the 7-mana Demon Hunter taunt.
Right. I mean, there are some weak options, but I mean, Saiyan got one of the weakest, that he could get at 8 mana.
Yeah, but it's also like you said, the difference of a 4/1 into a 7-drop as opposed to an already 6/6 into an 8-drop.
Yeah. I'm inclined to believe that that was a worse choice. However, fact remains that Saiyan got ahead enough onto the board that it forced an entirely reactive turn.
But imagine
Now Saiyan can develop.
Imagine how good of a turn it would have been, though.
I will act as your
How much
slave.
better of a turn it would have been.
I mean, I am on board. I am on board with the upgrading the 4/1 6-drop into a 7-drop.
I'm just straight up upset, man. And there's nothing that Saiyan can do for the rest of the series that will make me not upset anymore.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
How dare he? Dragon's Horde seems quite good.
I wonder.
Playing a Highlander
yeah.
deck as well, so there's a couple of hits from Dragon's Horde that also are fantastic, like Dino Tamer Brand, or at least the Enlightened.
Reno the Relicologist.
Sir Finley.
Sir Finley of the
Oh.
Sands.
There you go.
Saiyan daggers up. May need that. Blade Flurry. Works real well with the Galakron weapon, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But it's entirely too situational, I think, for this pick, but Eddie picks it anyways. I guess because the other options weren't great. Mana Knives, not really something you need against a bunch of tall minions, and then
This Galakron is nearing full invocation status.
yeah. I was thinking it's too narrow. Like, you just need specific. It's like, oh, you know, this is like if you finish your Galakron invocation, and if you have Galakron played, and if your opponent's board lines up well into it. But like, you know, Blade Flurry doesn't do anything. Oh my god, wait a second.
Raccoon gets to summon a
just hit
6/6.
the board.
Nice.
What on earth?
That is
Board
good.
came out of nowhere. Nice. Nice.
Okay.
That's actually nice.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that one. Non-sarcastically nice.
Unironically nice. Eddie doesn't have a secret, so Blackjack Stunner removing one of these minions from the board is not an option.
Oh, Galakron's fully invoked. Too bad he can't Blade Flurry in the same turn.
Probably have to flick here, right? Flick and then just use your suite of removal.
Yeah, but
Do you have to flick the Zeraku?
I think
Because
so.
it's just so threatening to keep generating 6/6 dragons?
Probably.
So many options.
Also, it's the big dragon that you wouldn't want to Blackjack Stunner because it can still be played, whereas Dragon Queen Alexstrasza can't when you Blackjack Stunner it.
True.
So if you're thinking about picking up a secret to deal with Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, Blackjack Stunner becomes a removal option for that. But he's just going to kill it because he needs to take power off the board.
Well, that preemptive backstab makes it so it's harder to trade into.
Yep.
And Saiyan's just done a good job controlling the tempo with and you know planning out when he extends onto the board and forcing you to play reactive. And Galakron Rogue is great at a lot of things. I would argue that its weakest area is actually just playing reactive. It does have reactive tools, like don't get me wrong. It's just that's not the position it wants to be in. It wants to be generating these threats. Edwin, big Galakron turns. Oh,
nice!
TJ, that's got to be the pick.
I mean, the other two
I know
are,
that
the
we
other two are
eventually replaced
terrible.
it with the Galakron. I know we replaced it with the Galakron Hero Power, but it's just so cool.
What about Khadgar and dig for Pack Tactics or Netherwind Portal?
I wonder.
Nah.
Ah, he did it!
Sir Finley. The other two just don't feel like they fit. He's probably not even playing Sir Finley in the Sands this turn. Probably just going off with Hanar Secrets. Okay. That's a snipe, not a Pack Tactics. For an eye. There's already an ambush in play. Explosive trap just to find one more secret. Nope, and a saber.
I like that, you know, when you're on the rope, you have to make decisions very quickly, and it feels like whenever casters have to guess which secret
He didn't leave himself enough time.
It's always going to be off.
Yeah.
Feels like we've been 0 for like 7 on it. Whenever they're roping down, they pick quickly.
Okay. So, Dirty Tricks and a Blackjack Stunner. Good Hanar and Dirty Tricks. Ooh.
Yeah, the Hanar is interesting too. First, you have to attack and see what secret it is. Didn't see anything. We know it's eye for an eye.
Yep. And he knows that it's ambush as well, because Saint's playing a Highlander deck. He's already played... Wait, has he played Bamboozle?
I believe he's played Dirty Secrets.
Yeah, he's only played the Dirty Tricks. All right, so he doesn't know it's ambush. Well, now he does.
Darkness reigns.
This is a complex board, and Eddie's going to have to go pretty quickly. Noble Sacrifice.
Yeah, he ran out of time there.
Got the attack off, but he takes 4. Eye for an eye, 1-man deal 4, pretty solid. And Eddie played. And he played his own
Noble
ambush,
Sack?
or did he play his own bamboozle?
He played Dirty Tricks.
Okay. That Noble Sacrifice, by the way, how clutch is that versus the ambush? Super clutch. Saiyan's got awkward plays this turn. Eddie might have just gotten a little bit too far ahead on board.
So many.
Galacron for 1.
I mean, it's always really going to be the case with Highlander Rogue. It's rare that you're able to get 2.
Oh!
Finds a free Zephyrus. Okay, how can we best plan that out? We play, for example, Spy Mistress. These are 2 stealth minions. Oh, wait. You get Pyroblast.
Oh, Pyroblast next turn.
Right.
He needs to find a way to push 1.
Yes, and that's what the stealth minions come to play.
Oh, this is cool.
Except Eddie's going to be at 11, so it's not technically safe. Or sorry, he's not technically damaged. Eddie is safe through the Pyroblast. Wait, Eddie has Blade Flurry.
Oh my goodness.
He can kill the stealth minions.
Is it even worth it though? You miss 5 damage also?
I think it is because you're at 11 and you see that your opponent has 2 stealth minions.
Oh no, the bamboozle. Okay, counterspell.
Counterspell.
Okay.
Counterspell.
Oh.
That's crazy.
And now Saiyan doesn't really want to play Serpent in the Sands because it gets rid of his Galacron hero power. Maybe he should.
Well, I mean, that's what I was saying.
Maybe he should have chosen Khadgar, Dan.
Yes.
For pack tactics.
Another taunt minion. Okay, so Saiyan doesn't even have lethal with Pyroblast. Nope. Okay, this Seal Fate will trigger the secret. Is there any card that Zephyrus can offer that will offer lethal here?
No. Not through counterspell.
Right, but if he plays Seal of Fate.
I still don't think so because he would still have to get through these 2 taunts.
What?
Right into my trap.
This feels like Zephyrus should try to clear the board. He has Flame Strike available to him.
Yeah.
Flame Strike to clear the board. He pushed the 3.
Or do you keep it stealth?
Right, and we know that Eddie has AoE.
I mean, yes, you're right.
I like it.
Eddie's hand
All
is
right.
also just a lot of nonsense.
It's true, but the blade. It's true, but the Blade Flurry here is fairly relevant.
Yeah, it's a good amount of damage cleared off the board. He does miss 5, but he's got more straight up value in his hand. He's got so much Lackey generation still. Praise Galakron, Shield of Galakron, Evil Miscreant. So if he is like deeper in fatigue, so he does need to start making a push. But I believe he has a Kronks left still. No, wait. No, that was last game where he flicked the Kronks. Whew. These games are blending together, Dan. I feel like right now the only thing I know is Saiyan versus Eddie.
Yeah, it's pretty wacky, but I mean, rogue matchups can sometimes get like that. And so the Blade Flurry comes down. Wait, what if Saiyan just gets like the Hunter hero power and closes the game? Oh, okay, he went for the. I think he wants to go for the Winged Guardian this turn.
You can even Titanic Lackey it because it's just straight up good, the health on the Wind Guard. Because Eddie just doesn't have a way to deal with it.
Maybe.
Wait, has Eddie played both Blackjack Centers? My deck tracker.
I don't know.
My deck tracker died like 10 minutes ago.
Got it, because there's too many cards being played.
Too many random cards being played. Everything's just like so tiny, it's impossible to see.
Sir Finley? No, it's Winged Guardian, right? It's got to be the Winged Guardian.
I think he needs to eke out a little bit more value from the lackeys.
Yeah. The Winged Guardian's also good because you can buff it to 10 health. That's just like super hard to deal with.
Yeah. Bamboozle. Got 2 of them now. Looking for Waxmancy?
Oh, wait, why?
So he can get a Blackjack Stunner.
Oh, okay. How about Pilfer? So he can get something that we can't even fathom right now that will just like bail him out of the situation.
What's the Mind Flayer Courage?
Okay, the Priest Legendary?
That and he could. Wait, is Pilfer a spell only?
It says another card, I believe.
And then he targets the Winged Guardian.
Yeah, you know what? Pilfer should just get like Puzzle Box EX. He'll win.
Okay, yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
He's got 2 cards left. He could also go for Solarian.
Oh, wait! Magic Dart Frog is a way he can deal with it! Oh, he's gonna play his cards! Gotta go quick, though.
Positioning! No!
Where does the magic come from?
Yeah, he's just dumbing. Did he get the trade?
No!
Uh-oh. Well, is there actual punish for this, though? Okay, this is where, like, your knowledge of the variants in Hearthstone is being put to the ultimate test here, we're saying. Finds a Goblin Lackey! This is a snake trap, and Saiyan has to test for freezing first? So now he can Sir Finley find a 2 damage hero power, rush it in, and then win. He found a 2 damage hero power.
Poison Daggers!
And
Misdirection?
Demon's Bite.
Oh, Demon's Bite, yeah.
I mean, both work.
Misdirection is.
Oh my goodness!
he got
What a
it!
turnaround!
Woo!
And Saiyann's gonna take the series 3-2 and ends his week at an even 1-1 score. And a crucial victory. Going down 0-2 puts you in a really high likelihood you finish in the bottom 4.
What a series!
Well, in this division, it's not nearly as devastating as is in Division B. Division B, bottom 4 means you're playing for your livelihood as a professional Hearthstone Grandmaster. But man, what a crazy back and forth. This was a long game, and it came down to a bunch of small things. Quite frankly, like I think you can't really put it down to just one turn, but you got to say that Saiyan navigated some really tough turns very well.
I mean, for Eddie, you can almost put it down to that last turn because he had a clear for the Wind Guardian.
He did. And you just had to trade in and then play one more spell.
And then one more spell instead of the extra lackeys on the side. And he had the spells to do it because he played a Sinister Strike, trade over he had 8 damage on board. The Wind Guard was at 7. So he trades one spell before that and just plays Sinister Strike. Everything else from his turn is the same. It's just Wind Guardian is gone. He doesn't have a taunt in play, but he's at 8. And what does Saiyan do from there? Because he's also getting quite low on health. So sometimes you just got to move faster and embrace the randomness, Dan. You can try and account for everything, but on turns like that, you just go. You just go and you hope.
Yeah, that was a barn burner for sure. And after that, we're 2 matches in, and we got 3 more to go. So the Hearthstone action keeps on moving. Eddie will play more next week, but for now, definitely a rough start to his Grandmasters season, given that he was this close to potentially starting off 1-0. In the meantime, we're going to take our first look at Papa Jason this season, and seems, he's bringing